could have done much better at school had I applied myself.
Yeah.
As soon as I went to college, I was top of the class straight away.
Yeah.
Just because I was excited and passionate.
Yeah, so there's a natural intelligence there, right? It's not about intelligence, it's about passion, focus, leading you to a point of wanting to learn about that topic, right?
Yeah, I have to want to do it, to excel at it.
Yeah.
If I don't, I'd struggle, I'd just dismiss it.
Welcome guys to another episode of Founder Stories. I'm super excited about our guest this week. We have a very special guest, Mr. Paul Foster. He's a Michelin Star Chef. I think I'm saying that right, Michelin.
French way. There's a few ways of saying it.
He's the head chef at his restaurant in Stratford-upon-Avon, Salt. Not only that, he's a published author. He appears regularly on TV, so he's going to be teaching me about presenting skills and how to do this podcasting thing. He teaches people how to cook food properly through his Salt Cookery School. And for me, it's really interesting that it's not just having an impact on people that come to the restaurant, but he has a reach further than that because he has an online platform, the Salt Masterclass, which it teaches regular people how to cook extraordinary food. I made that up myself, so you might want to steal that. I thought that was quite good. So welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming down.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, my pleasure.
And we're in my dining room now, which doubles up as a podcast studio, which my wife is just about forgiven me for.
Yeah, it's nice. No sound in here at all. It's quiet. Perfect room for it.
I've sent everyone out. The dog's gone. The wife's gone. The kids are at the grandparents'. So just a bit of background for you as well. Founder Stories is about helping entrepreneurs and business owners with insight and practical steps. So I listen to Diary of a CEO a lot and other podcasts like Peter Crouch, entertaining podcasts. But the bigger they get, the higher the guests get and the less relatable they get to me, kind of a normal person. So I wanted to interview successful people like yourself, but actually get practical steps, insight, not just it be a higher level conversation where you come away from that and say, yeah, I'm inspired and I'm motivated to go and do work, but you don't have any practical tips to take back. So restaurant owners and chefs, at the moment, the failure rate of, I don't know whether you know this, but the failure rate of new restaurants is 80% in the first year. Yeah. Which is incredible.
It is. It's very high. Very high.
Like from this, I just want to get a bit of an insight into what's made you successful, what's been different. Try and really understand what's different about you than the other chefs out there that haven't been able to fulfill their potential. Because I feel like you're at the level where you are fulfilling your potential.
Yeah.
I know you're kind of a similar person to me. You're never going to feel like you're fulfilling your potential. But from the outside in, you've done so well. You should be proud. And so what can we learn from your story that other restaurant owners, chefs, or even people thinking about moving away from working to having their own thing can take from that? So that's the long introduction. Let's start with you. My first question is, what's your earliest memory of cooking and wanting, and enjoying it and wanting to do more of it?
It was when I was 10, like genuinely. I said when I was 10, I want to be a chef. I didn't know anything about the industry. I didn't know anything about like how brutal it is, how challenging it is, but I loved just cooking. And so I grew up in pubs, so I've always been in hospitality my whole life. So I like the feel and the environment of it. But I started baking cakes when I was like 10, and they were terrible, to be honest. But I think people were humouring me. They were always nice and light, but I'd cover them in all sorts of funky coloured icing. And then I'd sell them to the bouncers downstairs because my mum and dad had live music venues, so there was doorman.
So your parents owned a pub?
Yes, yeah, when I was younger. Yeah, we had a few over like 10 years. And so I'd sell them to them. And it was just seeing that expression from people smile when they've eaten something you've created. Yeah. And it's such a simple transaction, but it meant a lot to me at that age. And then I was always in the kitchen downstairs with the cook and with my mom when she was cooking and, for the customers. Yeah. And I just buzzed off it and I just wanted to learn more. So that when my parents split up when I was 15, I took it upon myself to make all the family dinners every night and just be that kind of responsible. And I think that's where my leadership's always come from, of just, I'll take that on, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Preparing for your family, who are your closest people.
Yeah.
And seeing their reaction to what new things that you're creating? And were you experimenting with your own dishes and things like that at that age?
Was, yeah. I got my first cookbook when I was 13. It was Gary Rhodes' Roads Around Britain. I used to have my hair like him and everything. And I'd try and replicate some of the dishes, but they were too complicated for me at that stage when I was like 13. But I gave it my best shot, and then you try and go off piste, but you don't have the foundations to go off piste.
Yeah.
But that's where you start to learn. But that created excitement. It was like, this world's endless. There's so much you can do with food, and it just inspired me more.
Yeah, that's incredible. I didn't realize. I read your story, did some research. We know each other, obviously. But I didn't realize it was from such an early age that you actually knew that you wanted to do it. Kind of like my kids are 8 and 7 now.
Yeah.
And right now it's all about football. They love football.
Yeah.
That's it. And I know they'll do that right through to say 18. If they make it, they make it. If they don't, they don't. They've got their education on the side, but they know.
Yes.
And for you, it's not football. It's cooking.
It was cooking, yeah. And I loved sport, but I was never that good at football. And I accepted that quite early. And then I was never very academic. I was always sort of bottom to middle of class. I wasn't, for want of a better phrase, stupid.
Yeah.
But I was just never engaged with it. I was never interested. I could have done much better at school had I applied myself.
Yeah.
As soon as I went to college, I was top of the class straight away. Just because I was excited and passionate.
Yeah, so there's a natural intelligence there, right? It's not about intelligence. It's about passion.
Yeah.
Focus. Leading you to a point of wanting to learn about that topic, right?
Yeah, I have to want to do it to excel at it.
Yeah.
If I don't, I'd struggle. I'd just dismiss it.
It's really interesting because Kieran and my wife, we were at dinner last night and we were talking about my kids have started, this is where I have a list of questions and end up not talking about any of them.
That's best, right? Yeah.
They were drawing. So they've got into drawing because she does art class. And so they found these videos on YouTube where they watch the video and then they draw. And they're actually really good. Yeah. But it's become an obsession. So they wake up, they want to draw.
Ah, nice.
They're replacing everything with drawing. They're producing a stack of papers that they want me to keep, all of them. And she's like, I think we should try and say to them, you don't have to be so obsessed. And to me, I was straight away trying to say to her, listen, you need to encourage this obsession. Because if you look at anyone that's successful in life, they find something that they're really passionate about and they become obsessed with it. Yeah. And that's what leads them to work long hours and find solutions to problems and not give up because they're obsessed, right?
Exactly right. And, my daughter's the same with her art. And school is obviously incredibly important, but if they aren't natural with school and academia, if you're pushing it on them, they're only going to revert and go the opposite way. Yeah. You've got to reiterate the importance of that, but follow their passions. Because I think through life, and it's the same with me with my business now, I think sometimes we focus too much on our weaknesses and push ourselves through them, whereas sometimes you just got to accept that that's not me. Yeah. I'm going to focus on my strengths. And that's where I've succeeded. Other people in my business are better at me than some of the things I'm better. So they do that. Yeah. I focus on what I'm good at and what I'm passionate about.
Bookings, for example, and you're cooking and looking at a menu. I totally agree. I mean, I do a speech where I talk about a business being a wheel with spokes on it. Mm-hmm. And so you want all of those spokes. So the middle is 0, the outside of the spoke, a full spoke is 10. Yeah. If that makes sense, that analogy. In my head, I can see it, right?
Yeah, I get it.
So if they're all 10s, you've got a large size bike. It can accelerate quickly. It's got a high top speed. If some of them are 2s and 3s, you basically can't move. Yeah. So as a business, as a restaurant, you do need to work on your weaknesses. But what's a really good point that you've made that I probably confuse people with sometimes is you shouldn't be the one working on those if they're not in your zone of genius. Exactly. Yeah. Okay. That's really good.
When we opened the business, we were so small. I was doing everything and I was failing at a lot of things. Yeah. And all that does is just builds up negativity in your head that you're doing a bad job and you're no good at this.
Yeah. But and you're overwhelmed as well, probably.
Yeah, exactly. I knew I was a really good cook. I'd never ran a business. I had a lot of anxiety about running a business, didn't think I could. But I was trying to do a head chef job and run the restaurant and the business and try and do admin and accounts. Yeah. Admin and accounts is my weakest weakest part of the business for me personally. And I was just burning out. I was just not in a good place. And all I was thinking was I'm failing at this because I was focused on the things I was struggling at rather than focused on what I'm good at.
So that'd be a bit of advice. I mean, that was going to come later, but I mean, it's really good. It's a bit of advice for people that aren't necessarily fulfilling their potential, are restaurant owners or chefs and are feeling overwhelmed. Try and look at what your 2 or 3 key strengths are, or even one, and try and hire or get help from family and friends, or depending on your level of monetary, you know, your monetary situation, whether you can afford to hire or whether you need to sort of beg, borrow and steal help.
Yeah.
Don't do the 10 things yourself. Pick the 2 or 3 things and then think about outsourcing everything else, right?
Exactly.
Just sort of reversing back a bit. So you went to college and you did culinary?
Catering at college,
From there, if you read your story, it's quite incredible. Obviously, I'm not going to go through it now. I want this to be more about you and what was different. But how did you get those opportunities? Do you think that it was natural talent, or do you think that it was hard work? Because you went from, you know, cookery school, college, straight to, well, maybe not straight to, but pretty soon working in some famous restaurants under some famous chefs, traveling the world, getting opportunities that other people would sort of die for.
Yeah.
How did you make that transition between someone at college to getting those opportunities?
I think that the confidence breeds confidence. That I was incredibly shy as a kid, wouldn't speak to anyone. And I think because at school I sort of struggled, I never really found my thing. I wouldn't talk to girls, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But as soon as I got to college and I started doing well, because I did have a natural talent for it, but most of it is hard work.
Okay.
Like genuinely, I don't believe it's like I'm special as a cook. I think most people can, you know, achieve a high level if you put the hard work and make the right choices. So being confident in that and having a good relationship with my lecturers, and then you could see what opportunities there were. And I was nervous about making that step, but I went into a good restaurant, excelled there, and then it's like, well, I could probably do the next step. And then I took those steps quickly. And then by the time I was 19, I was at Raymond Blanc's Le Manoir 4 Saisons. Yeah,
but were you, this is what I'm so interested in. Were you proactively reaching out to that restaurant? Like so that's where it comes down to hard work, determination, courage, put yourself out there.
And I've always had as a teenager, nobody is going to do this for you. You have to do it yourself, whatever industry you're in. Nobody's going to open a business for you and, you know, make you rich or make you famous or make you successful. You have to do it yourself. Nobody's going to. I know that sounds incredibly simple, but it's easy to forget.
No, and I think it's such good advice. If I I always bring things back to my kids because my kids are basically everything. And every analogy I have is my kids. I've got 2. The 8-year-old, for some reason, flipped a switch in him. If you put him on a football pitch, he's like an animal. He doesn't think about, I'm going to take this shot and I'm going to miss, and what are the crowd going to think anymore? He doesn't care. He just runs around like a nutcase. And he's
lost that fear of failure with it.
Whereas the little one is probably more technically able. But once he gets on the pitch and once there are parents watching, and if we're in a cup final and all these things, you know he's playing at 70%. Because he doesn't want to put himself out there for fear of rejection would be your scenario. But for him, it's perceived failure and embarrassment. You know, if he's practicing a drill in the garden and he gets it wrong, he gets a look on his face like, I'm embarrassed. Oh, that's silly. He sort of nervously smiles. And I'm trying to not physically, but beat that out of him.
I know what you mean.
Because you have to fail forward, right?
Yeah, you have to. You have to know that failing's not that bad sometimes. The fear is worse sometimes than actually failing, isn't it? You know, depending on the levels of failure, obviously, but you need to experience it. You know, it's important to know, like, well, I'll pick myself up last time. So, you know, I can reference.
You can reference in your life points where you succeeded. To give you confidence. Like I've spoken on stage before in front of X amount of people. If I'm getting nervous now, don't worry, you've done it before. Or if you failed and learned, what did you learn from that? So keep failing again. I think, too much in business owners, which will apply to chefs and restaurants, there's not enough failure. I mean, I fail basically on a daily basis and get things wrong all the time. 12 years into running the business, not with delivering client work, but with all sorts of things you're thinking about. I was watching the new Michael Jordan movie last night. Air. I'd recommend it. It's really
good. I want to watch that. Yeah.
But they talk about he was the first deal where they did a revenue share on the trainers.
Okay.
And then you start to think about, oh, well, maybe, you know, some of our best clients, we could be working with them on a more close basis and they could be ambassadors, and you start to get these ideas. And so that might not work. It might fail, but you've got to try different things all the time.
Yeah. And I'll always tell my younger chefs, and I'll always tell, I did a speech at a school a few years ago in Stratford about how important adversity is, and you need that. You need to understand that, when you are faced with a challenge, if you walk away from it, that becomes part of you. So the next challenge you get, you walk away from it again.
You're creating a habit.
You're creating this habit of walking away from challenges and not being able to get over hurdles. And every time you get through adversity, you just have this learned behavior of, well, I've got through this, so I can get through that.
Yeah.
And it's subconscious, a lot of it. And a lot of that with me came from Le Manoir. It's the toughest kitchen I've ever worked in. It was brutal at the time. There was a lot of verbal and physical bullying going on, and
you're working as a junior in there,
and witnessed a lot of things that were
chopping and
horrific
things,
and I stuck with it. I stuck with it through. It wasn't through stubbornness, and it wasn't through grit of I'm gonna beat this. It was, I thought I would be a failure if I left.
Yeah.
I thought, because my family had a big leaving party for me when I moved down to Oxford, I thought, well, I failed them. So I stuck through that. But it has paid in dividends in the fact that I've always had this attitude of, if I can get through that, I can do anything within reason.
Yeah, and I think that's such a big takeaway. So if you are struggling, and David Goggins talks about this a lot. I'm not sure if you've listened to him or read his books, but he's an ultra runner. He was overweight, massively overweight, working as a pest controller, going in and having to kill rats and things like that. Just a dead end job. Lived with his parents, had no money, lived on junk food, and then just decided and woke up one day, do you know what? I'm going to become a Navy SEAL.
Wow.
And then over the period of 2 years, changed his whole life around. I had to go through the SEAL application process 3 times, where they basically almost kill you. Yeah. Became a SEAL, and now he just regularly runs ultramarathons. He's running 100 miles, 500 miles, 1,000 miles. He ran one race. He basically had like a broken knee. He was blood coming out of his bodily holes, and just carried on through the whole thing, because now he seeks out adversity. He speaks a lot about seeking out adversity. I just think it's important to understand that. And I think some of our listeners, being that they're not necessarily going to be entrepreneurs and into that space of self-development and learning and listening to people like David Goggins, if you just take a small amount of what we're talking about and apply it through and see yourself, like, do you see yourself as an entrepreneur now more?
I do more now. It took me a while too. Yeah, I think so. I think I was always, like, my issue was always, and this will be interesting for people, that we put people up on a pedestal, like this David Goggins.
Yeah.
If you'd have said to him when he was living with his mum and dad, doing pest control and overweight, in X amount of years' time, you'll be running 100 mile marathons, or look at this guy, what he's doing. It would seem completely unachievable. Because we put, I used to put all these chefs I looked up to on a pedestal and almost respect them too much.
Like, people will be,
they're a god. I can't do that. And trust me, you can. I just come from working class background and nice upbringing, no major adversity, I wasn't spoiled, just kind of in the middle. And if I'd have not followed this path, who knows what I'd be doing? But it just shows that everyone can do it if you apply yourself.
Hard work and dedication is everything. I talk a lot to myself about confidence, consistency. And it's just, even when the days when you feel like you're not moving forward, if you're just getting in the kitchen, you are moving forward because you're there.
Exactly. And you've got to accept the fact that you are going to have times like that. There are times where you feel a bit flat and deflated and the business might not be going the exact route, but you're still there. You're still trading. You're still going through it. You can't be, 100% motivated every single day. It's important that you're going back there and you're still going.
And tell me about so in those first few years, what happened in the transition from, I guess, let's go back a little bit. What why did you get started with opening your own restaurant? And why did you leave the comfort that some people would feel from working as a chef within a kitchen that's owned by someone else, where they're taking on all the responsibility of branding, marketing? How do you get people through the door? How do you make sure they're happy? Billing, pricing, sourcing materials, everything that goes with a business, finances, bookkeeping, legals, all of that stress.
I think to be completely honest, a lot of that I was probably a little bit oblivious to, in a sense, which is a good thing, because that would have scared me even more. I knew I was a good cook. I knew I could handle a kitchen. I knew I could cook to a certain standard, and I knew I was a good leader. And I was just, as a head chef in 2 really good operations, I was just frustrated that I couldn't take it my own way. And to be honest, I'm not a very good employee because I'm challenging. Because I always want to be better. I always want to improve. So I'd always challenge my managers. And
do you like being told what to do?
No.
I think this is consistent. Everyone that I've had on so far, including myself, I hate being told what to do.
Yeah, even if I know they're right, I struggle with it.
I think that's probably the number one key point why people start their own businesses. We don't want to be told what to do. We think we know best. Most of the time we do.
And I know that if I ultimately make all the decisions operationally and on other levels within the business. And on 99% of the time, it's the right decision. And when it's not, I'm fine with it. I can accept that I've made the wrong decision. I can hold my hands up. I'm not going to be defensive. But I know, and again, that's why I was frustrated, because the decisions I wanted to make around everything around the businesses I worked in, I knew they were much better decisions and it would take us forward. And you just felt like you held back and you held back and you penned in. So I needed that freedom.
You feel like you've got this potential. But you're not realizing it. Like when I started GrowFactor, I was working at Thomas Cook.
Oh, yeah.
And I was going in, it's a good finance job. I'm on like 60K a year. But really, I only need to work for 3 or 4 days a month because it's the financial month-end close. The rest of the time, people that work in finance probably won't be listening to this, but they'd understand it if they were. It's just like you're twiddling your thumbs. And they expect you to work till 7 o'clock at night just because it's the done thing to show your face. And you just feel like you've got this life to do something, have an impact, help people, make a change, and you're just sat there. And you're not doing things the way that you want to do. So you're not fulfilled. You've had this like burning desire to reach fulfillment, but you don't necessarily know what it is. I guess for you knew, let me do this, but let me do it my own way. I didn't necessarily know, but
and it's exactly that way. And and the creative within me, when you are a creative, you have to be free. You have to be able to experiment. And, I'd always get frustrated with things that even though were good for business, like, we'd do small weddings and things, and the food was good. It was always good, but it was frustrating because it felt like we were feeding people. And I've never wanted to feed people. Feeding people is a byproduct of what we do. We want them to come for an experience. They get fed off the back of that. And that's what going into Stratford-upon-Avon, it was, everybody caters for the tourist market. They're just feeding people. Stratford didn't need a restaurant when I opened up. There was no need. There's 100 odd in a tiny town. I wanted to give an experience.
Good restaurants. Maybe not great, but there are lots of good restaurants that get good reviews that people will go to, right?
And they do their job. They've got their marketplace and they do well. They're decent businesses. But for me, it's cooking by numbers and it's boring and it's the customers dictating to you. I wanted it to be, this is what we do. If you don't like it, that's fine. You come to us for what we do. And we have full, creative freedom. And that's exactly what we created.
And it's your personality, it's your brand, it's your business. And there's a lot of pride in that.
Yes. Exactly.
Totally different to working for someone else. So when you open the business, what were the steps when you look back now? Like if someone wanted to open their own restaurant, what were some maybe challenges or things that you would have done differently? And what did you focus on? Because you weren't one of the restaurants that failed in the first year, the 80%. You've got your star, which you've retained. You've been open now for how long?
6 years.
6 years. Consistent business, waiting list for people to book tables. People want to come, amazing reputation. lots of great press and PR. I've eaten there. Food's amazing. Experience is amazing. But definitely I agree with what you said. It won't be for everyone's taste.
No.
You haven't created a menu to please everyone. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
But there will be people that's not their cup of tea.
Exactly. Like a piece of art. It's not incredible if it pleases the whole world, is it?
Yeah. So what did you do, if you can remember back to the first 1 or 2 years, to keep the doors open and make it a success?
Well, I'd say like the things I would have done different, I wouldn't change a lot really, because I believe in the reason you are where you are now is because of what you've done and the things you've done wrong. If I was to do it again, knowing what I know now, I'd have a bit more infrastructure and support around me.
Okay.
Because, I had, nearly had a breakdown because of all the, the stress I put myself under and things I took on that I probably didn't need to. But the things that made us a success were taking risks, and I've always been a risk taker.
Yeah.
So like nobody knew who I was, who we were when we opened or what we were about. And we were ultimately midweek really quiet in those first 6 months. And the easiest thing to do when you're in that position is, right, let's do a cheaper menu. Let's do an offer. Let's try and get the locals in on an early bird or something. And that's what other people were telling me to do.
Yeah.
But I went completely the opposite way. I put the prices up and added value to the menu as well.
Yeah.
But let's go more because we're creating a brand here. We need people to know that we're premium and we're serious about this.
Yeah.
Because the second we started doing, offers at night, we'll get certain people coming in, but they're never going to come back for the rest. They're never going to, or if we sack it off, they'll stop coming. Yeah,
you want to build loyal clientele in the long term, right?
Exactly. So we really had to believe in it. We had a £20 lunch menu on when I opened. It was just a 1-1-1. Like one starter, one main, one dessert.
Yeah.
And then we had our a la carte and our taster menu. And there was other restaurants, and the restaurant next door was half the price. Yeah. And, they were doing a few more covers. So I was like, okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to get rid of this cheap menu.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't an offer. It was a good menu. It was priced accordingly, cheaper cuts. It was still our standard. You still get all the snacks, the peripheral things as well.
Yeah.
So it wasn't cost effective as well. Let's just get rid of it. Let's just go with the a la carte and the taster menu, and let's put the price up a bit. Let's add another course.
Yeah.
Let's create value around it. And that, that was really beneficial to us, being successful in that first year and staying open.
Okay. So kind of like we talk about in business, instead of trying to do a million things, your zone of genius is creating high level food that's unique as an experience. So why would you create a second almost income stream, which is a fixed menu that you've tried to work on the margins because it's so cheap you have to make a profit, and that's not you?
Yeah.
So work out where you are, basically, because not everyone is going to be. I know you're saying it's just hard work, but I think probably people can get to 80% with hard work.
Yeah.
And then the top up is the natural talent and the ability to be creative. So if you're at 80%, work out where you are. What kind of restaurant do you want?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want a high-end restaurant. You want to fulfill your skill potential.
Exactly.
But so long as you really understand who you are and you execute that rather than trying to be everything, that's the main takeaway there, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And to this day, we've never really advertised. We've never really, we've never ever done an offer. We've never
So how did
discounted.
How did you win awards? How did you get into, because if you look at Salt, and any listeners or viewers who are not familiar with Salt, if you just write Salt Restaurant into Google, it will come up with page after page after page of award, article, review, all of those things. Do you think that's just about doing good work and waiting for critics to come and eat in the restaurant, or did you actively go and invite people to come to the restaurant?
Generally speaking, if you're in London, such a competitive market, you have to go down that PR route, get journalists in. We never did. We've never had a PR company work on our behalf. No.
I just assumed you had a PR company because there's so much good press there.
No, about a year in, we took one on a 2-month trial, and it just didn't work for us because we'd already had so much press. I'd already got myself on television.
Yeah.
She couldn't do anything for us.
Yeah.
It wasn't that she was doing a bad job. It's, I was doing it all anyway. And then it kind of snowballs. When I was in Suffolk, I'd had a really good review with Jay Rayner. And that kind of put me on the map. And then just a lot of good things came off the back of that. So my profile within the industry was already grown.
Yeah.
It wasn't around Stratford or anywhere like that.
So that's your personal brand. So do you think it's a good idea for chefs, no matter what level they're at, to try and build their own personal brand?
Oh, it is. Yeah. And it's easier to do now with social media. But the challenge is that when I was first a head chef in 2010, social media wasn't what it was. There was no Instagram.
Yeah.
And Twitter was small. So there wasn't many of us chefs on there. So it was easier to sort of grow now. But I made a lot of mistakes on it.
Do you think it's easier now, or do you think actually if you have the talent that you've got, it's easier? Because once you've got the article, the people that really love food, they read those articles. They look in the Michelin guide. They look in the, in the new restaurants that have come out that have got notable awards or AA rosettes or whatever it might be. And then they'll seek them out and travel across the country to go there. Whereas Instagram, do you think now it could be getting to the point where it's harder to stand out?
It's a bit oversaturated. Yeah, definitely. And there's a mix, and people are so much clever. Phones are better. Food can look a lot better than it actually is. And I see that.
You can't taste it.
And I can, as a chef and knowing food, I can look at the food and it can look amazing when you really look at it. Like certain things are going to taste bad.
In a restaurant in Paris recently, I'm not going to name it, but I think sort of 5 out of the 7 courses were really great, and 2 of them were like almost inedible.
Yeah.
But if you look at the Instagram and all the things, it looks incredible.
Exactly, because you can manipulate it. You can take your time and take loads of photos and get an expert
and pick the reviews that you want to promote.
Exactly. That's why, Michelin and other things like Michelin are still so well respected. They're not just for the purist. They're revered and well respected for a reason, because they're so much more consistent.
Yeah.
And it's not like, let's say, a TripAdvisor, for instance. If you're reviewing a restaurant on TripAdvisor and I am, your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is different to mine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, it's judgmental.
Exactly. So Michelin have got one set. We don't know what their guidelines are.
They have a criteria, right? They're not criteria. You can't pay them off. They're not, there's no behind closed doors things going on. That's the whole value of Michelin, right? They are independent.
They are independent, and that if they're saying they're a 1 and they're a 1, they're generally pretty consistent because it's coming from one place, not 1,000 customers reviewing one place or with their own ideas. And the same with TripAdvisor. Not to go too much into these review sites, but how bad is it that us as a restaurant? I know we're not the best restaurant in the country. There's 3 Michelin star restaurants that are much better than us. But if I don't get a 5-star review on TripAdvisor, I'm like, that's not good enough. Realistically, we're a 3 or a 4. Because I can't say I'm as good as the Fat Duck, because we're not. But we all feel like we should all have 5, but it's just not a true measure, is it? That's why I dismiss and ignore all those now. I don't do me any good or bad for business. I don't read them. I'm not interested anymore.
Yeah, because TripAdvisor especially, exactly what you said. It's the independent judgment of one person. I stayed in a hotel in Paris recently, 4.9 out of 5, 2,000 reviews. My experience of it was terrible.
Yeah.
So you have to look at the independence of it. And I guess in a really crowded world where there's so much on Instagram, so much on Google, so easy to write a TripAdvisor review, Michelin will just go from strength to strength.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of the trustworthiness of it, right?
Yes.
When you first started the restaurant, like I talk about a business allowing you, ideally, to give you freedom, have an impact on people or the world, and make money, right?
Yeah.
So what was your routine like? Imagining you didn't have much freedom in the first few years of running the business.
Routine is in like life balance and stuff.
Yeah, like when did you get up? What time did you get to the restaurant? How many days were you working? Well, you did have kids then, right? Because the restaurant is not as old as your daughter. So you had your daughter then.
Yeah, my daughter, she was 4 years old and my son was 4 months old when we opened. So that presents challenges, as I'm sure you'd be aware.
And when you talked about risks, it's not just talk, because you're opening a restaurant when you've got a 4-month-old kid, which most people wouldn't do because they'd be so worried about removing a PAYE income. Yeah,
and I was the only one earning money. Now, my ex-wife, my wife at the time, she was on maternity still. Yeah. So she was getting a bit of maternity money, but it wasn't huge, obviously. So we still had house to pay for and
Yeah.
cars and all the normal stuff.
And I don't think I would even do that. I mean, I don't think that I'm quite a high risk person anyway, being an Indian accountant, but that's a lot. Yeah.
It is.
You've got to
And
back yourself, right?
Part of it is more about how it happened. So we crowdfunded the money through Kickstarter to open the restaurant.
Yeah.
2016, about March 2016. We didn't actually open till April 2017. So just finding the site and getting it there took that long, and it's hard to time. You can't just say, right, I'm going to open it next year on this date.
Yeah.
And Ethan just came along around the same time. And it's like, well, these two things have collided.
And what
I can't stop either one.
Then? Like, did you save money from working before? Always
Yeah, I'd save some money and just for personal, paying the bills. And I was just doing consultancy, working from home, doing projects for people. And I was going and working in friends' kitchens, all over sort of Cotswolds and just do a couple of days.
Hustling.
You got to hustle, yeah.
Yeah.
So when Ethan was born from the October, obviously we didn't open till the April, so I still wasn't working. So I still had to, pay with one proper wage coming in. I still had to sort of make it work whilst opening a restaurant. It was a very challenging year.
Do you think, I mean, for me, it gave me a whole new level of motivation when I had kids. I used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and do 3 hours before they woke up.
Yeah.
Because I was like, right, well, I've got this business. At that time, it's doing 300 or 400K in sales.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get it to a point where they can have whatever they want. They can go to the right schools. We can take nice holidays. We've got money in the bank. We can move house. And it was just like someone lit a fire up me when I had kids.
Yeah, it was, although I was married, it was before the kids, you're a bit more selfish and it doesn't really matter, but it does change completely. It's like, well, I need to make this work for us, for them. And I did it the other way around. Like, so you'd get up really early. I've never been a morning person. I've always been a night owl. So I'd work really late.
Okay.
So even if, I'd done a 12, 14-hour shift, I'd come home and then it'd be doing admin and menus and recipes.
And would you
and
see your
accountants.
family in the morning then? And then probably not see them.
Yeah, and I'd be a zombie, to be honest.
Yeah.
Absolute zombie in the morning. And we were open 5 days then. So we were open Wednesday to Sunday, and I'd finish about 5 o'clock on a Sunday. So I had Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday off. And the kids weren't in school then, so the Monday, Tuesday it was fine. I got a lot of time with them, but I was a bit of a write-off.
Was like, Monday, Tuesday, because it's not about, for like people who are running their businesses and they're feeling guilty. To me, someone explained to me once, a therapist, it's not about quantity of time, it's about quality.
Exactly.
All the kids want is a connection.
Yeah.
So even on the days when you're really busy, if you can say, connect with them for 5 minutes, ask them what they want to do, play with them, do whatever. And on the other days, just be about them. Don't be on your phone on the Monday and Tuesday. Don't be, trying to do emails while you're swinging them on the swings or whatever it is.
And that was the trap I'd fallen into as well, because I was working on the Monday and Tuesday, and I was the only one looking after emails and bookings coming in. And it was like, if I don't do this, no one's doing it. And I'm, dealing with problems and issues. So I never had a set, well, I'm off those days and I'm off. Yeah. I was never off. Never.
And that
off.
was for how long until you got someone to come in and sort of help?
The first year or so, really. And it was just, it was just all over the place. And then I managed to grow the team a little bit in the kitchen and in the front of house, take a bit of pressure off me. And, just with little things, dealing with inquiries and things, like things I shouldn't need to be handling.
And what's the structure of your team now? Because you have your restaurant staff, but who do you have helping with inquiries, emails,
So I have, so the restaurant manager and assistant restaurant manager, they handle that. Yeah. When, at the moment, we're closed for 2 weeks holiday over Easter.
Yeah.
I don't expect them to be looking after that. I'm fine looking after that and just keeping an eye on things. There's nothing that urgent anyway.
Yeah.
So I'll deal with anything that does come in that needs a bit more attention. But during the rest of it, they handle the rest of it. Okay. I'm just guilty of wanting to be involved with things I don't need to sometimes. Because I'll work now. I'm not in the kitchen as much anymore.
Yeah.
The team look after it because I'm working on many different things. But I'll work upstairs sometimes in the cookery school and I'm not as productive because I'm going down and getting involved in things I don't need to.
Yeah.
If I take myself out of the situation
And trust them.
Yeah, the team are fine, and I do completely trust them. It's not even trust; it's me wanting that connection still with the business. I think,
because
and still
you enjoy it, right?
Yeah, and I love making decisions, and I love being a leader, more than a chef sometimes. Yeah. So when I'm going to work from home. So I'm writing my 3rd cookbook at the moment, and so, I'm going to do some of this writing from home, and I'll just be more productive, and they're fine. They don't need me a lot of the time.
But it's scary to give across the reins. But I think I read a really good book, actually, if you're interested in learning about business, for you, if you haven't read it, and for listeners, so the first one is called Rocket Fuel. The second one is called Traction. Yeah. It's all about what we talked about, understanding what seat you should sit in.
Yeah.
So you need an integrator, which will be your restaurant manager, who deals with all the operations and the day-to-day stuff.
Yeah.
You need your team that you can trust, your chefs that are in there, and you're the visionary. You're the one that sets the culture, sets the objectives for the year, writes the menu in collaborative, checks the standards, makes sure that people that are eating in the restaurant are happy, but you work out whatever your zone of genius is, and then you make sure that you clearly are only staying in that lane.
Yes,
and let the other people do their bits.
And it takes a lot of time to transition as well.
Yeah, 12 years it took me to find that book.
Yeah.
And then Yasser, who's my business partner, to get him to be happy to be the integrator. Yeah. And then to step back and tell my team, I'm the visionary now, so you don't come to me with client queries and these kind of things, because this is what I'm doing. This is my role in order for us to move forward.
Yes, exactly right. And I learned that, and still I'm still on the fence with it, and I need to remove myself a bit more. I learned it from watching chefs I'd worked under, like Sat Baines in Nottingham, and watching his progression from when I worked with him. He was on a section in the kitchen, we cooked together, and then watching him come away, but be over it. He's tactically over the business. He's in control of the brand, the vision, like you said, and the style and the cuisine, but he's not hands-on. Because what you end, when you're too hands-on, you end up building a bad business model. So when we'd been open about 5-6 months, and I had a car crash on the way into work on Wednesday morning, and it was because I was doing too much. I fell asleep at the wheel, wrote 2 cars off, like head on 50 miles an hour with another car. Totally my fault. I veered into their lane, and airbags went off, and the strap, like all my neck swelled up, and I couldn't move. We had to close the restaurant for the day. I mean, it wasn't a concern. Obviously, certain things come first, but it just made me realize that if I'm relied on that much, this is a bad business model.
Yeah.
So I need to have the infrastructure
at some point. Otherwise, it's super high risk, right?
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of great chefs out there who I admire and look up to. And in multiple years, they've never missed a service. And they've created great restaurants. But for me, I've never wanted my business to be so reliant on me. Yeah. Because it's not just about me. It's about the team and growing people as well.
I'm thinking a lot about dashboards at the moment, because I'm trying to create a dashboard for each of GrowFactor's major industry niches. So a financial dashboard for restaurants, for example, to tell them what numbers to keep an eye on, almost like a health check that the business can look at. But from a business perspective, when you start to step back, how do you make sure that the quality of the plate is the same? The customers are getting the same experience. Like, what do you keep track of? What sort of
it's a very difficult thing to track in a metric sense, because what we're delivering is a tangible product that can just change instantly during a service.
Are you asking for customer feedback before they leave the restaurant, or?
No, we don't do that. It's so inconsistent, customer feedback. Okay. For me, it could be viewed as quite inaccurate, but for me, metric wise, it's about trust. And my head chef, Laura, she's been with me since day one. So 6 years she's been cooking with me, and she worked with me at Mallory Court before.
So you don't
sous chef
to
the
spot
same.
Check.
No.
Go in through 2-3 days a week and spot check.
We communicate a lot. We trust her. She's honest. If she has made a mistake, she'd tell me. Yeah. So I know that if there's a customer issue that's come up, and she's telling me how it is from her perspective. Yeah, I understand. I know that she's telling the truth or what has happened. Yeah, because she'll come to me all the time with someone's done this, or she's done this, or that happened. Yeah, and, this is how we'll move forward from it. So it's about that complete trust, because it's such a unique business, a restaurant.
Yeah. So she is like Yasser is to me complete trust.
Yeah.
He's part of the business now. I couldn't run the business without him. I never question what he's saying. And we were just, I guess you were so lucky to find Laura.
Yeah.
Laura, right? We were so lucky to find Yasser, and things just happen that way. So I guess if you don't have a Laura or a Yasser, you need to try and seek one out.
You really do. And, in terms of going back to what you said about customer feedback, we do actually get some of that I value. And that's from our regulars that have been eating with us for 6 years.
Yeah.
And, it was only last year, I think, when I was really stepping back and leaving Laura to it and letting her, giving her ownership of it in the kitchen has really brought her on.
Yeah.
But some of them, like, I've spoke to them, maybe I'm upstairs and I'm leaving them to it. Like, God, this is the best meal I've ever had here.
Yeah.
And a little bit that hurts, but in a way, it's like, no, that's brilliant.
I get that too. Yeah, I jump on Zoom calls occasionally with clients, and I can see they're just looking at me like, do you want to get off this call now so we can start being productive instead of just chatting about random stuff? Yeah. And they're happy with the team.
Yeah.
More so than when I was doing delivery, because for me, probably similar, maybe not similar to you, because I'm sure when you're cooking, you'd be focused on cooking. But for me, I'm not as focused on bookkeeping or financial analysis or tax on a call as my accountants would be.
Of course, yeah.
Because that's all they're doing and that's what their passion is. I'll be thinking about different things and starting conversations with clients about sales and marketing and optimization.
Because you're not as day-to-day with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I'm exactly the same.
What do you do now? So it sounds like you've got a lot more freedom now. You've taken 2 weeks off for Easter, which I think is another point for people. You're not so focused on the money lost during that time. You know that you need to give your team a break, yourself a break in what could be, I guess, a really busy time if you chose to stay open because of the school holidays and things of that nature. Yeah,
I mean, we do plan our holidays around the school holidays because, it works for me. It works for the team.
What we do, Kieran and I, we do like a preloaded calendar. We look at the whole year.
Yeah.
Think about if we want to go abroad. And now you have to pre-book so far in advance because otherwise the flights just could get more and more expensive.
Yeah.
Block out the calendar, share that with the whole team so they know, get them on board with when they're going to take holidays. Similar thing you do, I guess, with agreeing because if the restaurant's going to be closed, your team have to take their annual leave.
Yeah. And that's agreed at the start. And it's such a rare thing in the industry that you actually take all your holiday.
Yeah.
Like people love it. So we, towards the autumn time, I'll set the holiday for the year after.
Yeah.
So I'll tell the guys, so this year our holiday year is January to December. So we were closed the first week of January because we always close Christmas, New Year. And then 2 weeks April, 2 weeks in August. And then there's a few days to use up around October.
Do you think to me, that seems like something that's really critical, actually, that I didn't pick up on, but your team are probably very happy.
Yeah.
Very fulfilled. They're not overworked because they know they get those breaks almost every quarter.
It is. It works in blocks throughout the year.
And so you're saying that's rare for a restaurant to do that?
It is. And I've worked in a lot of hotels, which 365 days of the year.
Yeah.
And, it does drag. And sometimes you'll have, you might take a bit of holiday in January and it's quiet. And then you take a few days in the summer, but your next holiday is probably not till autumn.
Yeah, it's crazy. So that will
it's a long drag.
That'll allow you to retain your staff because if they start thinking, well, is the grass greener elsewhere? It's not because they're working more. If you're doing that for them, you're probably doing a whole host of other things to make sure they're happy and fulfilled as well.
Because with staff, it's not just about throwing money at them, and then overworking or exploiting, etc. Like you got to pay them correctly and pay them well.
Yeah.
And make sure we see 100% of their tips like our guys do. So what else can we offer to stand out and be competitive in the staff sort of market?
Get the best people.
The best people. But how can we make sure we retain these guys? And that's why, Laura and Gibbo, they've been with me 6 years.
Yeah.
They get guaranteed 2 weeks off over Christmas and New Year, which that's the busiest time. We shouldn't really be closed then, but I don't want to work.
They have time with their families. You have time with your family. And it's a different model. So in our business and for our clients, we teach, pick your sort of 3 things to really focus on to grow your business, your 3 projects. And for you, that might have been the cookery school when it was starting, the online masterclass or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Writing the book is probably all 3 of your projects at the moment.
Yeah.
And then you work on that for 10 weeks. And then you have a couple of weeks where you deload, kind of like physical weight training. You can't go all year long. So you work on 1 to 3 projects for a quarter. You review the progress of that. you take a week off. And so with Kieran, I'll try and plan holidays in the same way.
Yeah.
So I know, okay, I'm going to work really, really hard within reason, but I'm going to get that block. Okay, in May, we're going to Portugal. In the summer, we're going to Canada. In October, we'll go to Dubai. And it's like, you've got those things to look forward to.
And it doesn't look as daunting a year, does it?
No.
You break it down.
Breaking it all up. Yeah, 100%. I think that's great. I think that's a really good takeaway for people. What do you do? Just a slightly random question, but I wanted to bring this in because it's an interest for me. And I know that you ride bikes and you are getting into your sort of physical fitness, or you have been for a while.
Yeah.
What do you do now to optimize your sort of mental performance and your physical health?
Physical health, I've sort of fell off a bit now because I'm so busy at the moment, but cycling and it's just the best thing. I've always hated running. It's a horrible thing to do. Even during the lockdown, the first lockdown, I was like, I'll just take myself on a little run, and I just stopped mid-run. I was like, stop it. You hate this. This is horrible. I've just never got on with it. And I got a bike and I love it. I don't have podcasts on, don't have music on. I'm just out.
Which is safer anyway, right? Because you've got a fast bike, like a race bike.
Yeah. It is. But like the temptations there is I need something to engage me, but you don't. You're just out there and with my own thoughts and stuff. And it's amazing for the mind and the body. I need to, now the weather's getting better, I'm going to get much more into it. And
you live in a beautiful part of the world where you can go out and ride and see countryside.
Yeah, you're straight into the Cotswolds from Stratford. So I do a lot of that. And now for me and for the mind is just taking a lot of time for myself. Because I know before I was divorced, I never used to do that. And that was an issue of mine. I never had my time.
Yeah.
And that would be the first thing I'd dismiss. I'd be like, I don't need my time.
Because you feel guilty.
Yeah, all guilt ridden because I worked a lot.
Family or whatever.
I wasn't doing as much at home. So my days off, it'd be like, right, I need to do housework, DIY, look after the kids, take the pressure off. And you forget about yourself.
Yeah.
And if I would have taken time for myself, I would have viewed it as selfish then. But now I'll do that. I'll have evenings off, do things on my own. I'll go out, on my own. Even, when I'm in London, because I'm working in London a lot at the moment, I'll stay there, and I've been to some comedy gigs and even on my own and stuff. And just that time, I was always scared to be on my own, but now doing that is quite powerful.
Yeah, and I think that takes a lot of confidence. I saw 3 guys yesterday in the cinema who'd come to watch that movie on their own because they wanted to.
Yeah.
And obviously, that was their circumstance. And I see them and I think, fair play.
Yeah.
You shouldn't. Like, people travel on their own now. People go to cinema on their own. There were lots of people in Paris where we were there having dinner on their own.
Yeah.
Which is more of a done thing over there, I think, because people go out more in the evening to restaurants. Where we were staying, there were so many restaurants, just those nice neighborhood local restaurants, not flashy, center of town, Mayfair-ish kind of. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but just real sort of Parisian, cheap price, but good, wholesome food type restaurants that you could go to every night is my point.
Yes.
You couldn't go to, most people couldn't anyway, go to a high-end Michelin star restaurant every night.
No, you're right.
Own is a substitute for cooking their own dinner, right? Because it would bankrupt them.
And last year as well, I went, it was my 40th year, so I took a few breaks. I went to New York. I went to, thank you, went to Lapland.
You're the same age as me then. I'm 40 as well.
Oh, yeah. 82.
Yeah.
Well, no way. I didn't know that. I knew we were roughly the same.
It's a good decade. Do you feel like you understand
Very
yourself?
good wine year, 82 as well.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, with the weather.
Happy days. Do you feel like you understand yourself more at 40? Like, I was happy to turn 40 because I was like, I get it now.
Yeah. Yeah, much better than when I was 20s and 30s. Yeah, I know who I am. I know my
Not that
needs
you're perfect,
now.
I know what's wrong with me now.
Yeah.
And I'll try and be better at that.
And I know what my needs are. I know the difference between my wants and my needs, which I don't think I really did.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I think that's important. Like, I need time to myself now.
Yeah.
I need quality time with my children.
Yeah.
It's not just a want. I need things that fulfill me in life, not just things that I'm doing because I feel like I should, or that's what the industry thinks of me, or whatever. It's more about.
And I've never seen you be a materialistic person or want. So, the reality of a restaurant at the top end, as we know, is it's not a license to print money.
No.
The fact that you're the way you are, most of the money that comes in, you're spending on getting the best quality products and the best staff and the best location and constantly upgrading it. So it's not like you started this and you're living this life of high luxury. No. You're doing it for a genuine love of providing an experience to people.
Exactly. It's always had to be that high-end, great restaurant, a good business model that, we don't take profits out. Everything's gone back in and we've just made it better and better and refurbed it, and new kitchen.
Which is ironic because people probably think, who don't understand restaurants and don't understand business, that the Michelin star restaurants make the most money. But actually, it's your Nando's and your regular high street restaurant.
Your higher turnover. Of course.
Low quality, super low quality product, high staff turnover, cheap wages, where they're making money to a different degree. And they've got multiple locations. So what do you do? I mean, looking back at that triangle, you've got more freedom now. You definitely impact people because people can, I think so, because people can access your expertise by going and signing up to the masterclass, which is like £5 a month or something. And access all of your cookery teachings and all of these things. So that allows you to impact people on a global basis.
Yes.
Which I think is really important for your own fulfillment, to be able to help people, even if they can't afford to come to the restaurant.
Yes.
But we all do want to make money. We want to go on nice holidays. We want to maybe drive a nice car. We want to have a nice house. You probably would prioritize the kitchen.
Definitely.
I saw when you came in this morning, you were straight away over looking at the cookers and the ovens and saying, nice kitchen.
It's the hub of a home for me. It's where all the socialising happens.
It's true. Having a nice open plan, and we've got the dinner table in there, and we deliberately didn't put a TV on the wall so that we would have dinner and talk.
Nice.
And there wouldn't be the temptation. And we've thought about it, and we always have these ongoing conversations. Should we put a TV in there just so I can watch the football while Kieran's cooking and we can be together? But you end up just then being in the same room and just not watching the football.
And not engaging properly.
So, not engaging properly. So what other things are you doing that maybe other people can learn from to create additional income streams separate to the restaurant?
Well, for me, I was very realistic about Salt. I knew it was never going to make me rich. Right? It's a small restaurant. We're open 4 days a week, 11 tables, 27 covers, plus upstairs.
Which does make it so special, right?
It does. And it's about creating. I always wanted it to, like the first vision was, right, it's going to create a job for me where I have ultimate freedom. No boss above me. I'm going to work a decent enough wage. And once I've built this brand that I'm proud of, it's never going to, I'm never going to retire on it as such. So I want to use that to be able to do other things, and I'll make money that way.
Okay.
So that is your flagship, if you like. So then I can open more restaurants. So I'm opening a restaurant in London next month, but it's not going to be, we're not going to try and pick up Salt and do Salt everywhere. It's going to be using my name and my profile to do different things. And, still all about, quality.
With different food style.
Different food styles. A business model that is, more likely to make money, cookery books, television, the online masterclass, and then brand work as well.
Personality now as well. I switched to TV. This is like 2 or 3 years ago, though, I didn't realize you were on TV, and I was watching TV with my kids, and we put Saturday Kitchen on or something, and you were on TV, and I was screaming at them to come into the other room. Look, this boy's on TV.
I love doing it. It's a great thing. But for that, again, I don't want to be a TV chef. I want to use that to try and monetize it in different ways. So like now I'm trying to do brand work at the moment. So TikTok's obviously gone crazy. I've got a massive following on TikTok out of nowhere.
Oh, really?
It's my biggest social media following. It was like 120,000.
Wow.
Sort of come out of nowhere. Me just doing some cooking videos, and I've picked up brand work from that.
Okay, so little things you can monetize and things like that.
So trying to work smarter, really. So, if I was still tied to the stove at Salt, I'd be working incredibly hard for like a set income. Now I want to work less for more. So just work smarter, essentially.
So the lesson there is, first of all, you concentrate on your one thing. You find out your zone of genius. You build your restaurant to the point where you have got a waiting list and you've got loyal followers, and people are, which I find with Soul, asking people like, how did you get the table? How did you get in? There's a real demand for it, and you've built a brand. And then from that brand, only then 3, 4, 5, 6 years down the line, can you start to think about, I can use that brand to do this, bring my own cookery books out, bring my own utensils out, whatever it might be, and get some good advice and diversify.
And it's very easy, especially young chefs, to look at successful chefs and they want all the brand work and the fancy stuff, the materialistic stuff straight away.
Because they feel like
they don't understand why they can't have it.
They don't realise you've been working for the last 20 years.
Exactly. 24 years in kitchens, hard kitchens. And then still, when I opened Salt at 34, there was still several years of hard work then. And I'd already done, a lot. And people think you're rich just because you've been on telly and you've got a star. And, it doesn't mean money. It means you have the opportunity to monetize yourself.
Yeah,
is what it means.
A lot later down the line. It's really funny because I was in the gym yesterday taking some check-in pictures. So I'm doing bodybuilding, but I'm not going to compete because I don't want to sort of sacrifice my energy levels with the kids and all these other things. But I do want to get leaner through the summer just to see what I look like. I've always liked bodybuilding. I tried doing functional fitness, bike riding, all these other things, but it turns out I'm just a vain individual who likes to look at himself in the mirror, right? So I know myself.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Anyway, I'm in my pants taking these check-in pictures and this guy said, "Oh, you look great. Like, how long have you been training?" And then I said, 25 years. Yeah. I was like, do you know what? I've been training for 25 years, never taken more than a week off. Yeah. And it's the same with work. If you just consistently progress, you get to the point where people look at you and they're asking you like, "Oh, what drugs are you taking?" Or, what do you do? What's your steroid protocol? I'm natural. Like, I've just been training for 25 years. You just
people look at the end result. They don't see like that. There's that famous picture, isn't it? I always go back to, and it's a ballet dancer's shoes. I don't know if you've ever seen it with their shoes. No. And then there's a picture without the shoes on, and their feet are just wrecked. Okay. So you see these shoes and this beautiful ballet dancer. Yeah. But what's underneath is just all that graft.
The years of hard work. Yeah. That's a good one. And you talked about bringing other people in to be experts. Obviously, you've been a client of GrowFactor for a good few years now. We met because you looked at that time, I think, on Google just for a local accountant, and we had a physical Birmingham office at that time. Yeah. And then I came to your house.
That's right, yeah.
For the initial...
We were probably...
discovery meeting.
We were under a year in Salt. Yeah, we'd not long been opened. But we were with an accountancy firm and we'd just opened and took them on. And they were okay, but they were just accountants, just not doing a very basic, no value, no real interest in the business. And and that's what stood out with you, is that you want to almost be a part of it and grow with us. And obviously hence your name, GrowFactor. And you had a different name then, didn't you?
SRK Accounting. Yeah. When people Googled us, they found Shah Rukh Khan, the Bollywood actor. So we had to change it. It was my initials and I came from KPMG. So it seemed like a logical progression. But GrowFactor is about being that important business partner. We've had conversations where you've been thinking about things and we've had a conversation together to try and get to a decision and things like that, and offering clients unlimited support. But we only want to take on clients where we're passionate about their business, genuinely. And I don't do any of your day-to-day now. I know Anish does. Like, what's been your experience with GrowFactor? Like, how has it been? And would you recommend us to other chefs and restaurants?
Yeah, definitely would. I mean, for me, it's about obviously trust that side is looked after. There was, just to refer back to the other accountants, there was an expectation that we knew what we were doing. Yeah. And they would be asking us questions about things. And I had no idea, really. Apart from being a head chef and seeing the odd P&L, I knew nothing about that level of business. Whereas, you guys, you take it on, you manage it, and there's feedback, and they're constantly chasing me because I'm useless with admin. And admin and accounts. So it's this benefit that you guys are managing it, in charge of it, and I can ask you honest questions that aren't just about figures and monthly reports. Yeah. Where you understand our business, and it works exactly in line with the only meat, fish, wine, booze suppliers. I only work with the ones that want to work with us. Yeah. I'm not interested in just being a number. Yeah. They've got to understand our business and almost be on the journey with us. Yeah. And that's for everybody we use.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, for us, definitely. It is an honor having a client, and to be part of a client's journey over the long term is so rewarding. Even though I don't do the day-to-day, for all of my clients, especially for you, because it's really exciting to see where we started and where you're at now.
Yeah.
Like, it's so rewarding.
Yeah, especially through with all the years that we've all had in the middle.
Yeah.
You know.
Just to wrap up, what, I know we've kind of already had these, so we can kind of repeat, I guess, things that we've already spoken about. What would be 3 keys to success that you could share with people that haven't been through that 25-year journey, are on the journey? What would be 3 keys to your success that you'd like to share?
Okay. So yeah, off my head, the first thing I would say is you have to stick by your guns. You know, a business that is fickle and just tries to move with either what is trendy or what other people are doing or what you're being told to do. You have to listen to your inner voice. You know, like to go back to Stratford, when I opened in Stratford, I spoke to other restaurateurs and they were saying, oh, you have to do pre-theatre meals. It's your bread and butter. You won't survive without it.
Yeah.
And if I'd have been a little bit more naive, I probably would have listened to them and done it.
Yeah.
But my question back to them was, yeah, but how do restaurants survive in towns without theatres then? Yeah. Like, surely there's a way. Yeah. Like, no, you have to do it. You'll fail if you don't. I've never done it. And it's, you know, benefited us massively because it doesn't fit our business model.
So trust yourself.
Sticking to your guns. Like, if you really know that and believe that it's going to be a success, and you've got to be prepared to, you know, die on that hill as well. Yeah. If you're going to stick to your guns. But that's a big reason why we've been successful is that I know that this is the best course of action for the business. So stick to your guns and trust yourself and back yourself. Yeah. Really.
Massive.
And then, you know, absolute hard work is key. Like you're saying,
hard work does pay off.
I'd agree with you on the 80% to 20%, because even if you don't completely have that 20% of talent, 80% of, you know, that success is
gets you to a good place.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. You might not be Gordon Ramsay, but you're still going to be bloody good. Yeah. So that hard work and understanding that the book stops with you. And again, I say this to a lot of young chefs and young waiters is it'd be lovely if we only did 37 hours a week. That's not our industry. The hours are much better than they are. But if you ever want to own your own business, you can't go from doing 37, 40 hours a week for your whole career and then all of a sudden open your own business and expect to be doing the same. You can be doing 100. Yeah. Because you have to, because the book stops with you.
Especially for the first few years. Now, 12 years in, I've got to the point where I can do 40 hours a week.
Yeah, me too now. Sometimes,
the thing will still turn. Yeah. But because I love it, sometimes I'll do 60 hours a week.
Yeah. But you invested that time at the start.
Exactly.
And if you hadn't, if you didn't have that work
6
ethic,
days a week, getting up at 4:00 in the morning, working right through when they've gone to bed at 7, then I'm going back in for a couple of hours.
Exactly. And if you didn't have that work ethic, then GrowFactor wouldn't be what it is.
No, for sure.
Yeah. And then, so that's, back yourself and, you know, stick to your guns, work hard, and you got to take risks. Yeah. You know, measured risk is important. Going back to what I said earlier, nobody's going to do it for you. Yeah. Nobody's going to make decisions for you.
And you can still mitigate the risk by having a backup plan. Like if you're a chef and you're good, someone will hire you if it doesn't work out. Yeah. And like you were doing, you can hustle and work to just earn enough money to pay your bills by going and working in other people's kitchens or whatever it is, menu design or whatever you're doing. And then
exactly. And I always had that to fall back on. I always knew that, right, I can take this risk because if I fail, I'm easily employable, because even, you know, like terrible chefs always get a lot of work out there on the agency scene. So if you're a good chef, people always want to eat. Yeah. Always want to eat. So, you know, you can earn money. Yeah, I always knew I could provide for my family. Yeah. So that was,
you back yourself to go out and do it again. Like I say to Kieran, if our business fails overnight, I'd back myself to build another business in any area up to 6 figures within the first year. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
So you feel okay to take risk.
Yes, exactly.
Cool. Okay. Last question. Okay. I know we've been going for like 90 minutes now. So
no, that's cool.
I'm going to start a new tradition. On Diary of a CEO, they have the previous guest write a question for the next guest. We're not going to do that. I'm going to ask my wife. We had dinner last night. I was speaking about this because I've been really looking forward to it. And also it's probably the first one where I've been a little bit nervous. All the other guests, for whatever reason, I haven't. I don't know why. I think probably because I hold you in such high esteem.
Yeah.
as well. And I want to make it the best conversation possible. And also, you're a TV personality. She said a really good question would be, so the tradition is I'm going to get a question off Kieran.
Oh, nice.
And I'm going to ask that last.
Yeah.
Because she's not in business. She does a much harder job of looking after the kids and the home and the family and all of those things.
So it's a very different outlook.
Yeah, very different outlook. She does charitable work, all of those things, but isn't an entrepreneur, isn't in the thick of it. You know? Mm-hmm. If you had to have a meal because you were on death row, last meal, I'm sure you've been asked this before, but maybe the answer changes. What would that meal be? The
answer does change and tweak, but it would be, and this is 2 reasons, because it's on death row, I want it to last. My favourite type of food to eat is grazing food. Okay. So like big board charcuterie. Like charcuterie is just one of the best things ever. Charcuterie. It doesn't work with it, but some sushi on there as well. Yeah. It's my last meal. I don't care. So yeah, some sushi, and, wonderful breads and olives, pâtés, pork pies. Yeah. That just on a massive board in the table. I could just graze, dip in, dip out, maybe some hummus and things like that. Yeah. And that's just like a beautiful meal to me. Are you putting any salad or greens or anything on there, or just saying, look, no, forget it. Need it. I just want indulgence, a foie gras parfait and stuff, like just some real indulgence, some beautiful cured meats, some cured fish, some sushi, and nice. Go all out. Yeah. So a really good high-end grazing board. No cheese. I don't eat cheese. I like that. You'll probably get another 24 hours of life out of that as well. Exactly. You can really make that last, can't you? Yeah, you can just go back to, I've not finished yet. Nice. I wasn't expecting that. What were you expecting out of curiosity? I don't know. Something cooked, like the perfect buttery fillet steak, or maybe not curry. I'd like you to say curry, obviously, because I do love curry. But I mean, I could give 100 answers for this. No, I like that love answer. Food. It's good. It's good. I think I was probably just expecting something where more cooking was involved. Okay. Yeah. Whereas actually that just shows, though, it's not necessarily about the cooking. You love the quality of the product. Exactly. And the product sometimes can just stand on its own. Exactly. And ultimately, I tell all our guys, like, we put a lot of skill in what we do, but we're nothing without quality product. Yeah. You can't polish a turd. Yeah. Essentially, we get bad product. And when you see chefs, whether it's online or television, and they're adding loads to a dish or manipulating a piece of meat, it's generally because it's a bad product. Yeah. The best products, you just got to cook. And the farmers and the producers have done the hard work for us. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming on the podcast, Paul. Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Guys, thanks for listening and or watching another episode of Founder Stories, and we'll see you in the next one.